cold open. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that every human being has vanished. No war, no bodies in the streets, no final message. 1 second, the planet is crowded with billions of people. The next, every phone is silent, every airport is empty, and the biggest cities on Earth become museums with no visitors. At first glance, almost nothing looks different. The lights are still on in Manhattan, traffic signals continue blinking in Los Angeles. A train may even be moving somewhere beneath Chicago. But the modern world is not a machine that runs by itself. It is a machine that has to be constantly repaired, refueled, balanced, cleaned, and watched. So this is not a story about whether nature would eventually reclaim a city. It would. The real question is more unsettling. How long would it take before the planet stopped looking like it had ever belonged to us? The first day. On the first day, the United States would look strangely normal. Cars would sit at intersections where their drivers disappeared. Elevators would stop between floors. Shopping carts would roll across empty parking lots. In New York, screens in Times Square might continue glowing long after the crowds are gone. In Houston, a refinery flare could burn through the night. In Las Vegas, the Strip could remain bright enough to look alive from the air. Animals would notice the silence before they understood it. Dogs would push through open doors. Cats would slip out of apartments. Deer would move through suburban streets. Coyotes, already comfortable around cities, would explore places they normally avoid. Some systems would keep working because they were designed to respond automatically. Water towers would still have pressure. Backup batteries would power alarms and data centers. Dams would continue releasing water according to control settings. Power plants would not all fail at once. But a power grid is not one switch. It is a live balancing act. When demand suddenly disappears, equipment behaves differently. Protective systems trip, control rooms go dark. A breaker that would normally be reset by a technician stays open. The first collapse would be quiet, one local failure after another spreading through a network with nobody left to correct it. The first week. Hospitals would have emergency generators, but generators need fuel, maintenance, and people. In many places, critical backup systems would last days rather than weeks. Refrigerated food would begin warming. Supermarkets would fill with the smell of spoiled meat and produce. Warehouses would become dark, silent rooms packed with food that nobody can distribute. Water would be more complicated. Some cities could keep pressure for a while using gravity and storage tanks. Others depend on electric pumps almost immediately. Once pumping stations fail, upper floors go dry. Sewage systems stop moving waste away. Flooded basements become breeding grounds for mold and insects. In northern states, heating failures would turn houses into iceboxes during winter. In the south, air conditioning would stop, but the larger problem would be food, humidity, storms, and fire. Across the country, thousands of industrial sites would become unattended hazards. Chemical plants, fuel terminals, laboratories, and mines. Nuclear facilities are built with automatic safety measures, and a reactor can shut down without a human pressing a button. But a shut-down reactor still produces heat, and cooling systems still need power and monitoring. Each site would become its own slow-moving emergency, with different outcomes depending on its design, condition, and location. Within a month, the most visible symbol of civilization would be gone, the steady background hum of electricity. The cleanest version of the disappearance. There are countless ways humanity could end. An asteroid could strike. A global war could destroy governments and infrastructure. A disease could remove the population while leaving buildings standing. But for this thought experiment, imagine the cleanest version. Humans simply disappear, and the built world is left behind almost exactly as it is. That scenario makes the answer easier to see. We are not watching the planet recover from a crater or a nuclear winter. We are watching maintenance stop. The first decade would be dominated by fire, water, and weather. Without firefighters, fires started by short circuits, lightning, industrial accidents, and dry vegetation would burn unchecked. In California, managed landscapes would become harder to control. In the Great Plains, fields that depend on irrigation would fail. In the Mississippi Basin, levees, pumps, and flood controls would begin to deteriorate. Storms would expose every weak point. Roofs would lose shingles, windows would crack. Water would enter through tiny gaps around doors and seals. A building does not need to be demolished to die. It only needs to stay wet.
20 to 100 years.
After 10 or 20 years, many suburban homes would still be recognizable. That is what makes the scene eerie. A street could look almost intact from a distance, but inside the houses, moisture would be working through drywall, timber, insulation, and wiring. Mold would spread. Roots would enter foundations. Insects would occupy furniture and books. Freeze and thaw cycles would widen cracks in northern states. In humid regions, termites and fungi would accelerate the process. High-rise buildings would fail in stages. Window seals would give out. Glass would fall. Rain would reach steel beams and electrical floors. Rust would expand inside reinforced concrete, forcing it apart from within. Some towers would stand for decades as hollow shells. Others would lose floors, walls, or entire sections in storms. Bridges would be especially vulnerable. Steel cables need inspection. Concrete decks need repair. Expansion joints need replacement. A bridge can survive years of traffic, then fail quickly once water and corrosion are allowed to work without interruption. Roads would disappear more slowly. Cracks would become potholes. Potholes would become channels for rainwater. Weeds would split the asphalt. Trees would push through parking lots and abandoned interstates. A highway that once connected a continent would become a narrow line of rubble beneath grass and roots. But while our structures weaken, many living systems would strengthen. Wildlife would spread through corridors that humans had broken into fragments. Deer, black bears, wolves, mountain lions, and smaller predators would move through abandoned suburbs. Some farm animals would die quickly, others would escape and form feral populations. Dogs would be especially interesting. Over generations, the survivors would become leaner, more cautious, and better adapted to hunting in packs. The most successful American landscape would no longer be the one with the tallest buildings. It would be the one with the fewest barriers. 1,000 years. After a century, most modern infrastructure would be damaged or gone. What remains would be the buildings designed to resist time. Stone walls, monuments, tunnels, earthworks, and structures protected by unusual conditions. But even famous landmarks would not be immortal. The Statue of Liberty would lose its surface, then its internal supports. The steel skeleton of bridges would rust away. The skyscrapers of New York, Chicago, and Seattle would become piles of broken glass, corroded metal, and concrete. In 1,000 years, the outline of a city might survive only as a strange change in vegetation or a mound beneath the soil. Former streets could become drainage channels. Parking garages could become caves. A subway entrance might remain visible for a while until a flood, a landslide, or roots close it forever. Stone structures would last longer, but lasting longer is not the same as lasting forever. Water enters joints. Ice expands, plants pry blocks apart. The land slowly covers what the weather does not destroy. The monuments most likely to survive would not necessarily be the most beautiful. They would be the ones buried, sealed, dry, or made of massive stone. 10,000 years and beyond. Plastic would not simply vanish on a schedule. Much of it would break into smaller fragments, move through soil and waterways, and become part of a new geological layer. Glass could survive for very long periods. Ceramics, bricks, metals, and concrete would leave different signatures depending on their environment. An intelligent visitor flying over North America after 10,000 years might see forests, wetlands, deserts, and grasslands with no obvious sign of a global civilization. But beneath the surface, the evidence would still be waiting. Buried foundations, mine shafts, tunnel networks, airport runways, landfills, nuclear waste repositories. A strange concentration of alloys and synthetic chemicals. The layer of rock created by our brief industrial age would be unmistakable to anyone who knew how to read it. Our longest-lasting message might not be a statue or a skyscraper. It might be a landfill, a buried road, or a thin band of unusual materials spread across the planet. And above ground, evolution would continue. A former zoo animal might become part of a wild lineage. City pigeons could diversify. Rats could become larger, stranger, and more specialized. Crows, parrots, octopuses, or apes might eventually produce another species capable of manipulating the world. If that future species excavated our ruins, the first question might not be, what did these people believe? It might be, why did they build so many identical boxes, and why did they fill them with plastic? The last trace. Even after buildings disappear, some traces would remain in fossils, sediments, and chemistry. Our bones, tools, plastics, concrete, and altered landscapes would become part of the record of Earth. The planet has preserved evidence of organisms that lived billions of years ago. It can preserve evidence of us, too. Not as a perfect museum, but as a signal, a sudden industrial layer, a burst of domesticated species, and a strange interruption in the natural history of the planet. So would Earth erase every trace of humanity? Not completely. Cities could vanish in centuries. Monuments could disappear in millennia. Buried structures could collapse over tens of thousands of years. Tectonic plates could eventually drag parts of the evidence into the deep Earth. But until the planet itself is transformed by the aging sun, the story of humanity would remain written somewhere, in stone, in sediment, in DNA, and in the wild descendants of the animals we carried with us. The unsettling part is not that nature would defeat us. It is that nature would not need to fight us at all. The moment we stopped maintaining the world would begin writing its next chapter, and the final proof that we were ever here might be discovered by a creature that has no idea what a human being was.